In contemporary society, we are surrounded by many modern household conveniences. Can you imagine life without refrigerator? Life without washer and dryer? Can you imagine life without a computer or smartphone? I think most of us agree that these modern products improve the qualities of our lives today. So we can work more productively and we can save more time. Does that mean that we have more family times? Or relaxed life without stress because of these modern the conveniences? Maybe yes, no. The reality is many of us are more busy and no peace in life, but more anxiety and stress. We often allowed other activities associated with a work or school to eat away our time for family, time for worship, and time for the service for others in our community. We want to experience a meaningful life and peaceful life under God's reign. How can we experience that kind of life? The good news is we still can experience those meaningful life and peaceful life under God's reign as we follow Jesus Christ. That's what we are going to share through the text today. So if you have a Bible with you, please open the Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. Gospel of Mark, chapter 1. So in this text, there are two paragraphs. First paragraph is Jesus' message, and the second paragraph is Jesus' call for ministry. First paragraph provides us the context of the story. So I read verse 14. After John was arrested, Jesus came into Galilee, announcing God's good news. The Gospel of Mark doesn't provide us why John the Baptist was arrested. But other Gospels and other documents they provide that why John was arrested. Because of his confrontation with the religious leaders and even to a King Herod of his immorality. So in this vulnerable situation, how did Jesus respond? In the original Greek text, it says, Elten ho Jesus. Jesus means Jesus. So in here, the interesting Greek word is Elten, because it was used for both go and come. In our contemporary language, the go and come is both a directional language, but it's opposite. So NIV and NLT Bible describe it, Jesus went to Galilee. So it may sound that Jesus was escaping from the dangerous spot, which is understandable. But Jesus was not escaping from the dangerous situation, avoid the risk, because Galilee was also in a territory under King Herod. So John's arrest, on the contrary, John's arrest triggers Jesus' ministry. So I think it should be interpreted, Jesus came to Galilee, because Jesus never leaves us alone when we are in trouble. In the midst of trials, we often question, where is God? And overwhelmed by those wicked forces around us. Like a poem of a footprint in the sand. This is the poem of a dream that someone had a dream and saw the two sets of a footprint in the sand that reflect his life journey. And one set belonged to him and the other to the Lord. So in the middle of the poem, he says, I read, Lord, you told me when I decided to follow you, you would walk with me and talk with me all the way. But I'm aware that during the most troublesome times of my life, there is only one set of footprints. I just don't understand why, when I need you most, you leave me. He whispered, my precious child, I love you and will never leave you, never, ever. During your trials and testings, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. Is anyone here thinking that everyone else seems happy, but you cannot be? Because you might be in that scary situation right now. But you know what? Because of that situation, because of that trials, you are in God's arms right now. He knows you. He knows that situation. He knows what is the best for you. And He's willing to carry you. Just let Him do it. In this context, Jesus announced that the time has come. The word time from Greek is not chronos, but kairos. It's not a length of time, but occasion and opportunity. So New Living Translation describe it, the time, the promised by God, has come at last. In other words, Jesus' ministry will bring salvation the people anticipated. And how? Through the kingdom of God, which is God's reign. So, what must I do to prepare that kingdom of God, that kingdom life? Jesus said, change your heart and your lives. People must make a radical change to return to God. All right. I want a meaningful life and peaceful life. I want to live under God's reign. I'm willing to change my heart and my lives. And how can I change my heart and lives? Does it mean I have to have a pacemaker or have a different job? Not necessarily. Look at the verses 16. As Jesus passed alongside the Galilee Sea, he saw two brothers, Simon and Andrew. They were fishermen, so they were throwing fishing net into the sea. Fishermen were doing their daily routines. To them, Jesus said, come, follow me. Come after me. Come behind of me. You don't have to be in front of me. You don't have to worry where to go from now. Just follow me. And He promised that I will make you fish for people. So what does that mean to show how to fish to those professional fishermen who are doing that all their lives there on the lake? It means participating in Jesus' ministry, which is a healing and teaching and caring and serving. This kind of a new fishing is not destroy and cook, but saving lives by bringing the goodness to other people. That's a kingdom life under God's reign. But here's a problem. Following God's way means we don't look after any other things. Problem is, in order to follow Him, there are some things that we should give up. When I was mid-20, lots of people at church affirmed my calling for ministry. Well, I could see it, and I appreciate their affirmation. But I hesitated. Honestly speaking, I refused it. because of those things that I thought that I had to give up. I thought I was too young to give up all those dreams and ambitions and those pleasures. So I tried to compromise with myself. Okay, I can do it. I will do it after I retire. Maybe I can retire a little bit earlier, but not right now. And also I had some excuse and all those experiences that I learned from my uncle who was a pastor and my cousin as a pastor's kid. I learned that, all those and fears and those hardship. So I had enough fear and excuses to refuse. However, I was uneasy in my mind. For me, this is the road that I never traveled before. What if there is something that I don't know? What if there is some precious things that I don't want to give up? I don't want to lose. I was like a donkey in between apples and carrots. Is there anyone who is hesitating to your call? You know what what you're supposed to do, what you have to do. But whatever reasons, whatever excuses, there's a resistance and hesitations. So what is that? To those who are hesitating, the people, why don't you look at the text, the verse 18 and 16, how they responded to the call of Jesus. In verse 18, Jesus says, I will show you how to fish for people right away. Immediately, they left their nets and followed him. After going a little further, he saw James and John and Zebedee's son in their boat repairing the fishing net. At that very moment, he called them again. Immediately, they followed him. At once, they followed him. It tells us Mark's theology of imminence. Jesus didn't say, why don't you consider to follow me? He didn't say, why don't you think and pray about this? But he said, come, follow me. It's a command. The ideal time of this call from Jesus to respond to this call is, ideal time to respond to this call is right now. Wait a minute. We don't know the risk. We don't know it's going to be gain or loss. We don't know how long it will take. We don't know how much it will cost. So we have questions and fears. That's true. But you know what? As a person who is called to follow, what you and I need is faith. Faith only. So in Hebrew chapter 11, verse 3, it says, by faith, we understand that the universe has been created by a word from God, so that the visible came into existence from the invisible. In this chapter, the word faith appears 25 times. It tells us of the story of those, our ancestors, who by faith admit their sin and came to God and shared God's blessing. The reason why our faithful ancestors live a great life was by faith they came to God. By faith Noah built the ark, despite all the opposition from the people. By faith Abraham trusted God's promise and was obedient to God. By faith, Joseph sensed God's plan, even in slavery, and saved his family and his nations. By faith, Paul laid down the stones of killing people, and was transformed into a great apostle to proclaim the good news. By faith, Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of dream for a society where people are treated justly. By faith, you and I are here this morning doing what we are doing as a family of Christ together. All because of faith. As I look back my life, that's how I follow Jesus, by faith. Then did I always follow him closely? No. Sometimes I scampered ahead of him because of my wants, because of my experience. Then I had to learn the lessons with the pain and shame. But the good news is that even in that failure, even in that brokenness, God has been faithful and waiting for me. That's the good news and great news. Family of Christ, how is your life right now? Though we are living in the contemporary society where we can be connected to the people on the other side of the earth, these modern products and convenience doesn't bring the right relationship among us. God does. By faith, as we follow Jesus Christ, we can experience that loving relationship with God and with others. That's the good news and great news. The one who called the fishermen and made them disciples want to invite us this morning. Come, follow me. He doesn't say to go there and do that and finish this to become my disciples. But he says, follow me. You don't have to worry where to go from now, just to follow me. And he promised, I will make you fish for people. I will make you a carpenter for people. Not just doing those work to support your family only, but also to build a shelter and safe places for people to rest and regain their strength to go on. And I will make you a soldier for people. Last week, I watched the movie Jarhead 2, Field of Fire. Personally, I don't like a war movie, but this movie has some story that I got into it. The main actor is Cole Hauser, who played the Marine, and he became the leader of that unit in a mission to resupply in a remote place where under the Taliban territory. On the way, the unit encountered the Navy SEAL who was in a mission to shepherd an anti-Taliban woman safely. So that created more tensions, more attack, and more challenges. So he lost his unit, many of them. Actually, he was a reluctant leader in the middle of the combat, and he said that, you know, I'm a Marine, and just a Marine in supply. But at that moment, the dying Navy SEAL and affirmed him, yes, you are still a Marine. So it shows the process of how we became a courageous soldiers to rescue that anti-Taliban woman. So that's what the Jesus means. I want to make us soldiers for people, to protect the innocent, to bring the justice. I'll make a teacher for people. Some might be thinking that is a good job as a benefit or being honored. But I'll make a teacher for students, for their growth, for their life change. I'll make a nurse not only to provide a physical need, but also emotional need and spiritual need. For doing that, as you're doing that, I will be there with you and for you. That's what Jesus has promised. That's the good news that we all need to grab this morning. May the Lord bless your heart and grant you more faith so you can be faithful followers of Jesus in your life journey and be thankful. Amen. Let's take a moment to pray.